Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, we're rolling. It's Friday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is episode 131 of Gridiron Grinder. And so for tonight, we're going to kick things off with Name That Stadium like we always do. Then we're going to jump into the news from this past week. After that, we're going to do a little bit of a Pro Bowl preview, even though some of it already kicked off last night. The official Pro Bowl flag football games are on Sunday, so we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll wrap things up with question of the week. And so, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's going good, man. This is like a weird week. You know, we're waiting for the Super Bowl. We got the Pro Bowl. It's not like the Pro Bowl used to be. But then again, the way the Pro Bowl used to be wasn't like the way it used to be before that, and it probably never really was what it was meant to be. And so
Yeah.
we're just waiting for the Super Bowl. All right. So for anybody who is familiar with the show already, thank you for coming back. We appreciate the support. If you're new, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. We do tend to go kind of long in these episodes sometime, hour and a half, 2 hours. Tonight, maybe not so much because there's going to be less to talk about this week, but we bookmark everything in the description of the video. That way, if you want to jump around, hit a particular topic, just a little bit easier to navigate knowing that going in. And so, yeah, we do this every week. We love talking about football. If that's your thing, go hit that subscribe button. And James, why don't you take it over with Name That Stadium, man?
All right. So this is the point of the show where, as you can see, I'm traveling around. Generally, there's going to be a tie-in somehow to the stadium I choose to go to. Generally, during the regular season and playoffs, it's a stadium that's hosting a game that week. And if you guess it, then you'll get an extra special shout out from us. We'll bookmark it. You can play it over and over and over again if you want. Just boast to your friends. And so last week I was in Philadelphia for the San Francisco at Philly game. I thought that was kind of the more compelling matchup of the week. I kind of thought the Bengals were going to run away a little bit with the game against the Chiefs. So I chose Philadelphia. Plus, the previous week I was in Kansas City. Couldn't quite do that 2 weeks in a row. So
Yeah, and then everybody and their mom got hurt at quarterback for San Francisco, and you know, and they actually hung in there despite all that until the second half is kind of when Philly
mhm.
started to just walk away with it.
Well, yeah, it's kind of hard to win a game when literally the only person on your team that can throw the ball is Christian McCaffrey.
I
Um,
know, I
so
know.
they lost Purdy. Apparently, Purdy he tore his ACL or UCL,
Yep,
not
super
ACL.
early in the game too.
Yeah, super early, and then Josh Johnson came in, and he did okay, but then he got hit pretty good, and he was out of the game with a concussion. And so they had to put Brock Purdy in. But if you hear his comments, he said he could only throw the ball maybe 5 yards,
Yep.
and you kind of can't do much when your quarterback can only throw the ball 5 yards.
Oh, I
Uh,
know.
I think and there's been a push this week for it, and I think they kind of have to do it again, is go back to having that third emergency quarterback that's there for
Yeah.
the game, and certain rules if he enters the game at a certain point, the other two, because neither Johnson or Purdy should really have been playing that game.
Yeah.
But the way that game was going, it's like even if they had a third quarterback going, he probably would have gotten hurt too. So
Yeah, and conference championship game, it's like near the worst possible time. The only
hmm
other time could be worse would be in the Super Bowl, I
yeah,
suppose.
exactly.
But it's just like, wow, a team that, I mean, what was it? They won like 12 straight games or
Mhm.
something. I mean, to have it all come crashing down in that kind of fashion, just horrible luck for them, man.
Yeah, it's horrible luck for them. But like, really, honestly, they were playing their third string, then fourth string quarterback, and really would have had a fifth quarterback
I
playing the
know.
game. I think McCaffrey took some snaps at quarterback too for them. So I mean, Jesus,
Yeah,
that's rough luck.
yeah. I mean, it was just insanely impressive that they got that far with Brock Purdy. Of course, now
Hmm.
he's turned into a diamond in the rough, but you know what I mean. You know that anytime you go to your second quarterback, they say at best you're probably splitting wins, and
Hmm.
then going to your third, I mean, it's like all bets are off. There's like really no, precedent for that kind of thing. I think you're just expected to lose at that point. So.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, hey, good for them to get that far. Bummer it ended that way, but that's okay. They're talking about going into next year with Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. Purdy probably going to need, I don't know, I think the last I saw 6 months
Yeah.
to recover, and so that could make next year the start of the season a little bit dicey, but they're going to have some options, and it's a
Yeah.
stacked team. They've been great at adding talent to that roster and maintaining talent on that roster, so I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, like going into it, like before going into the game, it was Purdy's team. Like Purdy was going
Yeah,
to start next season, and now with the 6 months, and it depends on when he has surgery. Like you're looking at what? Like right now, if he had surgery right now, you're looking at the beginning of training camp when he can throw again. But he's trying to figure out and get opinions to figure out what to do,
yeah,
and so you're looking at like close to the start of the season, so you're probably going to have to start with Lance at quarterback. At least with Purdy, because let's face it, Lance can't play. He's talented, but he couldn't throw the ball when he was in there. So it's going to be Purdy's team when he's back.
yeah,
And I thought with him, if he were able to stay healthy, I thought there was a good chance that they could win the Super Bowl this year.
yeah. Same here, man. Same here. I liked all four teams in those
Hmm.
championships, and I'd have been happy with any combination going to the Super Bowl. And it's like it's just a bummer for San Francisco because I thought each of those games were going to be phenomenal games. And I think the Kansas City Cincinnati game ended up being really good. But, the San Francisco Philadelphia game ended up being really hard to watch because of the injuries. And it just,
Hmm.
if it was a regular season game, it's like, you move on. But, for that one, it was almost like I felt like we got, something was taken from us, James.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, but what can you do? That's the NFL. It's a brutal fucking game. So, all right, man. Why don't we move it on over? Let's do our recap of the past week. And we kind of like already cheated in here by talking about the conference championship games, and just kind of following our theme for the year. I thought we would start by talking about surprises from the games of the past week. We only had two of them, and we covered the big one, which I think was the 49ers having Purdy go down and Johnson go down. Um, I've seen a lot of people, James, talking about the officiating in the Cincinnati Kansas City game. There's all sorts of people calling it rigged, the NFL, blah, 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 all this stuff, conspiracy theorist stuff. Um, you know, when I watched that game, I kind of thought, some of it was going into Kansas City's favor. I didn't really think it was like egregious. Um, and then just kind of the way that the game went, to me, it looked like Kansas City played it slow and steady. They were trying to not make mistakes. I know Mahomes had that one weird fumble on that one play, but they let the game come to them. And it seemed like Cincinnati um, was very one-sided on offense. They were only passing the ball. They couldn't get anything going on the ground. It didn't seem like they were even attempting that much on the ground. I know Burrow ran it a couple times, and um, but they had those couple passes that got tipped, and they were picked off. And I know the one of them didn't count because there was a penalty on the play. But it just seemed like maybe Cincinnati was uh, pushing a little bit harder and had a couple mental mistakes. And obviously that one flag at the end that set up Kansas City, that's the most notable. But to me, that was the difference in this game, was that Kansas City was playing extremely tight and they just let the game come to them. Cincinnati, I think, was being maybe just a little bit too aggressive and it got him just a little loose, and it ended up maybe biting him a little bit. What was your take, man?
So, so flags aside, like that one play that was intentional grounding. The ball was nowhere near the receiver in the area. Yeah,
Okay.
if you drew the line out like 5 yards, 10 yards down the field, and you threw it a little bit further, you can make the argument. But the one that really, and I don't remember exactly when it was. I'm pretty sure it led to a touchdown. It was that fourth down play where there was something like, oh, they started winding the clock and they weren't supposed to, or some shit. So the officials say they were trying to shut it down, but they didn't shut it
Yeah.
down
Yeah,
until
I'm trying.
after.
Yeah. Yeah, the play went, and then they gave him another play, basically.
Yeah, and I'm trying to kind of like find the area when it was where it was in. It was like with like I don't remember. It must have been in the first half. It was like because I want to say it was like 3 something on the clock.
Okay. Yeah, and Kansas City was up what, 13-3, and then Cincinnati started coming back, and then I mean it got tight to the end, man. I mean it was a fun game to watch, but um, and impressive with Mahomes being hobbled that way.
It was it was right after a challenge. I'm sorry, I'm kind of stuck on that, like
Yeah.
when that was, because it was. I thought that was like a key moment in the game. I thought it was fourth down, but um,
Yeah, I remember what you're talking about. I'm just the details of what it was in, and I don't know why I thought it was a third down, but it might have been a fourth down. Either way, yeah, it was a very strange thing to occur. And I remember Zach Taylor was screaming on the sideline. He was upset
yeah,
about it for sure, and
yeah,
rightfully
because
so.
right, it might have been a third down. Then you might be completely right about it. That might be why I can't find it.
Yeah, and then man, this is one I saw today on YouTube. I mean, hey, we post our show on YouTube. I like YouTube, but I do watch a lot of garbage on YouTube, James, just for kind of like entertainment purposes. And there was a video today, supposedly, you take it all with a grain of salt on YouTube. You can't believe it all, but supposedly some guy saying that Alex Smith admitted to the NFL being scripted, and so it
Wasn't
was like,
Alex Smith? It wasn't Alex Smith. I know what you're talking about. It was Arian Foster.
oh well, then that's another one because this one was Alex Smith, and I was like, okay, come on, man, you know. But all right, what did Arian Foster say?
So I forget what show it was on, but he said basic. It was bullshit. Like
Okay,
let's say that I don't believe any bit of it. But
yeah,
so
I
it was.
have a yeah, I have a hard time believing you could orchestrate that many people
Mm-hmm.
to. And I get it, like, yeah, the refs and some things can kind of like finesse it one way or another, but man, I don't see how it could be rigged, man.
Yeah, so it was like I'll find the quote, but it's hilarious. It's hilarious what he's saying. Like basically like at the beginning of the game or beginning of the season, a script dropped on at his locker. Like this week you'll have 2 turnovers, and it was on um it was on Barstool.
Okay.
It was on Barstool podcast, and so I forget how, but it was like basically how I want to find the exact quote, but I mean, everybody came up with it, and it was completely joking. That's what this
Okay.
article says.
Yeah.
So he says, and you get a script, and it says this day, blah blah blah. This game, you're gonna have 4 touchdowns. This game, And then he's like, you were really dedicated to the script, so it was more like that's what practice was about. It was about practicing the script, and you know, so it's we know what's gonna happen. You just gotta go out there and put a show,
Oh, sure.
and then
WWE style.
yeah, and then one of the people said, so what was your reaction in 2016 when you fell off a cliff when you stopped believing in God? And Arian Foster responded with, it was 2015 actually. Oddly enough, the scriptwriters didn't have anything to do with that. It was more so to do with they needed a change of scenery in Houston. It was time to go, so they wanted to get everybody out of Houston. That was the ultimate goal.
Hmm.
And I was like, come on.
Yeah.
I saw that, and then like when you look at it, and you actually see it, he's totally not being serious about it.
Yeah, there's no way. And then, the Alex Smith thing. So I didn't watch this video. I just, it's like you get like the thumbnail and the
Yeah.
description and the comments and whatever. And but it's like, man, no way, no way. When you look at his story and everything he went through and that injury, no way. I don't think so. I think they glorified that, but it was
Hmm.
rightfully so because it was such an amazing accomplishment to come back and get on the field. But I don't think leading up to that was scripted. I don't think after that was scripted. I think that was just his freaking will to get back on the field just to prove it to himself.
Yeah. So let me see. This is. I think I found what Alex Smith had actually said. I don't want to subscribe.
Uh, Yeah, and while you're looking, James, I'll just do a couple quick injury updates. I've not seen what's going on with Mahomes. I got to believe the ankle's getting a little bit better, even though it's that high ankle sprain he's dealing with. Should still be bugging him a little bit in the Super Bowl next week, but this extra time to recover is definitely going to help him. Other Kansas City news, Mecole Hardman, I heard Andy Reid is saying he is likely not going to be playing in the Super Bowl. I believe he has some kind of like pelvis injury. And so he's like not officially been ruled out, but it looks like unlikely to play. For Philly, right tackle Lane Johnson is saying his groin injury is getting better. That's positive. And then cornerback Avante Maddox, he is in a walking boot as he deals with that toe injury. And those were the only bits of injury stuff I've seen. But obviously, we've still got a week plus before the big game, and so we'll talk more about it when the time comes next week.
Yeah, I haven't seen much. There's been like, well, this player was estimated as being out of practice because they're not really practicing this week and this and that. And it's like, this week doesn't really matter
Yeah.
injury wise. It all that matters really is when next week comes around. Like towards the end next week when we do this, we'll have more.
Yeah, it would only matter this week if there was some fluke injury in practice. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, shit, a guy's definitely not going to play because he tore an Achilles or something.
Hmm.
But those are like rare, and knock on wood, hopefully none of that happens.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully none of that happens.
All right, did you find what you were looking for, homie?
No, so I think what it was like a meme of Alex Smith when he was driving home reading the script for his injury or something. Like I don't think that I couldn't find anything actually about Alex Smith admitting it.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, take it all with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
All right. Well, James, why don't we get to some other news and we'll hit the coaching changes bucket. That's kind of been our our sequence of events here when we talk about the news. And so the big one, which you mentioned to me, was Sean Payton. He's back in the
Yeah.
game, was traded to the Denver Broncos. The compensation you were saying was a little bit confusing. What ended up going on there, man?
So the confusion was on my end because I forgot about the Bradley Chubb trade. So
Okay.
like everything I was reading, it was like a first round and like it was going back and forth whether it was a first round this year and a second round next year, or a first round this year or and a third round next year. I don't
Didn't
know
they
what
get a
it.
third round back as part of it? So they traded the first and the second, and then they got Peyton plus a third.
Maybe like I haven't seen like I've been trying to find something, and it's I just keep finding conflicting
Okay.
information.
Yeah. So the one that I saw, I'm almost certain it was they traded their first round pick this year, which was a late pick because it was what, the Miami pick or whatever. Um, then they traded their second round pick next year, and in return they got the rights to Sean Payton plus a third round pick for this year. And so I thought,
So
okay,
it's I found the most recent one, and
sure,
this was posted 2 hours ago because Peyton reportedly signed a 5-year contract with Denver.
gotcha.
So they traded this year's first, next year's second for Sean Payton and a future third round pick.
Oh, so they don't say if it's this year or next year?
Yeah, I'm trying to glance if for.
That's not bad though. That eases some of the sting of the compensation, and I think that they were desperate that they had to make a big move like this, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So, whether or not it's gonna like save them and bring them back around, I don't know. I did see that they requested to interview Flores for the defensive coordinator spot. I do like that move. I think, okay, now you got Peyton is the head coach and basically the offensive guy. You get Flores to cover that defense. I mean, on paper, they got everything they need to make some magic. It's just a matter of, do they have any magic to make, or is Russ cooked, as everybody has liked to say?
So this is, and you say that, and like my initial reaction was it felt like a hefty price, but what it boils down to is there were like 4 or 5 games this year that I thought Denver lost because of coaching decisions
Yeah, yeah,
that Sean Payton wouldn't have made that
that's true. At
that
least four or
decision.
five games. Yeah,
And you add 4 or 5 wins to Denver this year, and they were a playoff team.
yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah,
And next year, like right now, without knowing what's going on, I feel fully confident saying Denver is an 8 or 9 win team next year.
okay,
Before we even see any of the other transactions. So for a team that's kind of been in disarray since wherever you want to call it, when Peyton retired, when
yeah,
Kubiak left, at whatever point you want to call it, they've been kind of in disarray. I think it's an outstanding move
nice. Well, that's good, man. That's good. Yeah,
because and I think they get, it was reported that Peyton wanted 25 million a year, but he didn't get 25 million a year in his contract, and I think that's because of how Denver kind of slow played it.
sure.
They flew to Michigan to interview Harbaugh. They brought in D'Amico Ryans to interview. They brought in this person to interview, and it's like kind of putting that pressure on um, Peyton to be like, we have these other choices.
Yeah, yeah, we want you, but we're not desperate, even though they
Mm-hmm.
really were desperate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you mentioned D'Amico
If
Ryans.
next year if next year Ross looks the same as he does this year, I see Denver just moving on from him
Yeah, they'll have
and
to at
eating
that
it
point. Yeah.
and just eating the money. So it's like Russ shape up and that's what Russ needed. He needed a kick in the ass. He's probably going to lose his office. That I don't know why a quarterback would have a fucking office anyways.
Well, from what I've heard, it's all about him shedding some weight because he tried to beef up last year, thinking he was going to be playing more from the pocket and he needed to be able to absorb more hits.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly that limited his mobility for when he got out of the pocket, so he couldn't play like he used to play. But that wasn't the intention. They were going into a different kind of playbook and whatever. And now that it didn't work, he's realizing that he needs to be at that lighter weight and be a little bit more agile to make plays out of the pocket. And it's like, yeah, why the hell would you ever mess with what was working for you? Like, I don't get it. And then in the NFL, it's like, at this stage of his career, I've never heard of guys putting on weight like that. I remember Tony Gonzalez the other way explaining to a lot of these young tight ends that part of his longevity in the NFL was that as he was getting older, he was shedding weight to make sure that he could keep as much of his speed as possible.
Hmm.
And it just is like, man, I don't know. I don't know how gaining weight would get it done at that stage of his career. But either way, he's making
Yeah,
the adjustment. It is what it
and
is.
the report is it's going to be the 2024 third round pick from New Orleans.
Okay. All right. I got you. But so, hey, you mentioned DeMeco Ryans. He has signed with Houston, which I thought was pretty cool, seeing as
Hmm.
how he formerly played there. What did you think about that move, man?
You know, I think that's a great move. Like, there's no better coach to come in there than D'Amico Ryans. He knows he had a great relationship with Bob McNair before he died. He played there. He knows the organization. You know, he's not going to take much shit. And they kind of did the bullshit. Let's hire, who was it? David Culley, and give him a year. David Culley has had exactly one interview for a head coaching job, and that was for the Houston Texans.
Okay.
Then they hired Lovie Smith, who, if you look at his last like 5 years or last like 10 years of coaching, he was 50 games below 500.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess my only concern for Ryans is he walking into a good situation because the last few years, you mentioned like the Cully thing and whatever, we've heard a lot of rumblings about their front office being in disarray and being
Mm-hmm.
very political. And I would hate for him to be going into a situation where he's going to be set up to fail because there's a lot of infighting or just bullshit going on. And otherwise, I think it's a great story. I just hope they can give him some talent to work with.
Yeah, that's it. Give him some talent. I think the problem with the front office was they fired him. Was it Easterby?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. That rings a bell. Yeah,
Easterby, who was like the spiritual leader of the fucking Patriots, and then all of a sudden
there
he
you
he,
go.
he
That's what it
became
was. Yeah,
became the like
God
exact
of the
and an
Texans.
executive, yeah, the god of the Texans. Like, what the fuck?
Ah, yeah, that was such a messed up thing. Um,
Yeah.
all right. Well, yeah, thanks for catching that. All right. So then in other coaching related news, not head coaches, but assistant coaches, James, you told me, or actually, was it you or was it, I don't even remember, told me about Deuce Staley going to Carolina?
Yeah, he's leaving the Lions, going to Carolina to join Frank Reich's staff. I haven't.
Did they say what position though? Because the article I saw was that he was going to be taking a senior leadership position. It didn't name him specifically as offensive coordinator or assistant head coach or whatever. I mean, that's what he was with the Lions, right? Was assistant head coach.
Yeah, he was assistant head coach. Deuce Staley. Uh,
That's just a
it's a lateral move.
Yeah. See, it's just a bummer to see him leaving, man. But something about it must have him excited. So I'm happy for him. I'm bummed for the Lions, but it'll be okay.
Okay, and this makes a lot of sense. Okay, this article basically boils it down. It's a lateral move from the Lions to the Panthers. The Lions could have blocked it if they
Okay.
wanted to, but they chose not to because his mother, who lives in South Carolina, is experiencing health problems.
Okay. So
So
it'll
I
get him
think,
closer to home,
yeah,
basically.
it'll get him closer to home. I think, while I hate to see him go, and it's unclear still. This is an article that was from yesterday or a couple days ago when it happened. So it's unclear, but allowing him to get closer to home, and I think if he were to have, they would have forced him to stay in Detroit. You would either stepped down or he wouldn't have
Yeah.
stayed either way because he would have been distracted. And it makes I actually respect the Lions for allowing him to allow him to go based on the situation that I'm seeing behind it.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a classy kind of thing, you know.
Yeah,
Everybody was being very respectful of everybody else, and that's good because it doesn't always happen that way.
yeah, exactly. And it doesn't always happen that way with the Lions.
No, no. All right, and so then James, the last one I had on the coaching side was Kellen Moore. His, he mutually departed Dallas or whatever they were saying, and now he has signed to be the offensive coordinator with the Chargers. And so I don't know. I felt like they were making him the fall guy in Dallas. I know that like some stuff towards the end of the year got a little bit funky, but I don't know. I think there was more going on there with the team, and he just ended up having to fall on the sword. I like that he got an opportunity. I think he's going to do well with the Chargers. You know, he's walking into a team obviously that's like super freaking stacked on offense, and so I don't know. What did you think, man?
So, so yeah, they mutually parted ways. I think Kellen Moore wanted out because I think he was getting pressure from Jerry Jones to play Zeke more, where he
Okay.
wanted to play Tony Pollard, and he'll never say that that's actually what happened. But I think they were. Is he the
Yeah,
most
Jerry
creative
Jones,
offensive
man, he just
coordinator?
freaking
No.
strokes Zeke like
Uh
crazy.
huh. And I just think he was being stifled too much in Dallas, especially with McCarthy being an offensive minded coach. You have
Yeah,
that meddling, and he's going to a situation where he has a defensive minded coach where he can kind of let his wings spread on offense
yeah.
and see what he really can do. I think it's a great move for him. I think Dallas kind of forced the move because of fucking Jerry Jones meddlesomeness.
Uh, yeah, and hey, yeah, you mentioned Zeke with Jerry Jones. You know, he was like a big proponent of signing Zeke to that massive contract. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure a part of him, it's the ego saying, "Oh no, we got to bring Zeke back. You know, we want him on the team and this and that." Because it's like if he doesn't, it's like an admission of failure, and the ego's too big to do that. So, but yeah, Tony Pollard was the man. I know he's got that injury, which is makes their backfield a little bit uncertain. But Zeke has not been Zeke for a couple of years now. So
Yeah, and I think he was. It was kind of like more because I've been saying for a year and a half at least that they need to let Tony Pollard grow. They need
yeah,
to give the ball more to Tony Pollard. They need to do and and I think Jerry Jones was saying no. We still have to play Zeke. We're paying him all this money. We have to play him. We have to play him. We have to play him. We have. And it's like, do you not
yeah.
see how much better your team is playing with giving the ball to Pollard than instead of Zeke? But
Oh yeah. And listen, like to defend Zeke a little bit, great pass protector, and Tony Pollard has been lacking there. Um, and then like earlier career Zeke, great at getting those tough yards, but his yards per carry has been coming down every single year. It's
mm-hmm.
just not, that's the problem with paying running backs, man. It just usually doesn't work out well.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, man. So, aside from some of the coaching stuff, I I know you
You
saw.
missed one coaching thing.
Oh, go ahead.
The Colts.
Oh, what happened with the Colts?
The
I
Colts.
definitely missed it.
The Colts are doing an unprecedented third round of interviews for head coach.
Okay.
Um, fucking third round interviews. Basically, what it's boiled down to, and this is what's going to happen. A couple weeks from now, the Colts are going to put out a press release and say, we searched far and wide, did the most extensive coaching search that we can, and we found that Jeff Saturday is our guy.
Yeah, that's what they're gonna do. Yeah, they gotta basically Yeah, I mean, what do they call it? It's like going to the airport, they call it like security theater, like, oh, it's
Hmm.
just a big show. People are still sneaking guns in and stuff like that. It's like that's what this is. It's like it's just a big show, just to make it look like they did all this stuff, but they knew going in that they were going to commit to him. And here's the thing, man. Honestly, um, I know that, he had that one win right out of the bat, right out of the gate, and then it was a disaster. But you know, he was a really well respected player. He was
Hmm.
viewed as a highly intelligent center. He played with Peyton Manning for a long time. I'm sure he knows the game very, very well and could be a good leader of a club. Um, and maybe with like a full off season to get an appropriate staff and set things the right way, maybe he could have more success. Um, it just it's just a little weird what's going on there, but that's okay. It's indie.
Yeah. So I can also see the press release about Jeff Saturday. He started every one of his games tied, and statistics show that nearly 50% of the time you start a game tied, you win the game.
Oh, thank you. uh, uh, so, do you know who are the other finalists then going to this third round of interviews?
I have not seen anything official. I was just looking at who was in the second round, and I just lost it. Give me a second.
Sure. Yeah, so I
All
mean,
right, the
you'd think it'd be
second.
some or all of those guys are coming back for the third.
Yeah. So the second round of interviews for head coach, they interviewed Ryan Bisaccia, the Packers special team coordinator, Brian Callahan, Bengals offensive coordinator, Ejiro Evero, Broncos
Yeah.
defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, Lions defensive coordinator, um, Mike Kafka, no, Wink Martindale, Giants defensive coordinator, Raheem Morris, Rams defensive coordinator,
Jeez, that's a lot of
and
guys.
Jeff Saturday. So it's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven guys they interviewed the second. Two times. Seven guys they interviewed two times.
Yeah.
And some of these interviews, rumors are they're 12 plus hours.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if they're legit good interviews, I respect them for digging that deep, but it just seems like they're casting too wide of a net in the second round, and
Mm-hmm.
now they're going to do a third round. I'm just curious because I got to believe the third round's only going to be a couple of guys. If they do all those guys again, then they're just idiots.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can
Yeah, see if you
find.
can do some digging. Yeah. Yeah, and while you're looking, I'll sort of segue us over, James. This week was the Senior Bowl, and the West beat the East. Um, I always love the Senior Bowl, man. You get a good preview of the senior draft prospects.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys typically come out of the woodwork. The game was not a good game this year, unfortunately. There were a lot of turnovers, just a lot of sloppy play, mostly because the quarterback crop wasn't really ideal in that senior category. Uh, and I don't think this guy got the MVP, but they were basically saying University of Michigan kicker Jake Moody was pretty much the man because it was a field goal kind of game. So, but yeah, what'd you find there, bud?
All right, so apparently they haven't finished their second round of interviews yet. They're flying to Philadelphia tomorrow to interview Shane Steichen, the
Okay.
offensive coordinator, and then after that they will either decide to hold the third round of interviews with a whittled down list of candidates or hire somebody.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, if they're doing a third round, I would hope that they'll get it down to like two or three guys. But if it's more than that, they're just idiots. And
So
so,
this is the quote from it from the article. A third round is possible, but far from set in stone. A source with knowledge of the search confirmed. Another league source indicated a third round of interviews hasn't happened in any NFL coaching search in the past 40 years.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, look, I've done a lot of executive hiring in my day, and we've never done a third round. I mean, it's, but hey, I guess to each his own. So, all right, man. So, in other news, James, Tom Brady has retired yet again. You sent me a nice little, like, I don't know, infographic, whatever you call it, on Facebook about his record against all 32 teams. And we
Yeah.
know, it's Brady. He's fucking badass. Um, I saw Kraft wants him to retire as a Patriot. I don't know, man. I don't know that there's like a ton to talk about with it. I think it's a little bit strange that there was all the personal drama this past year about him coming back led to the divorce. I would have thought if that was true, if it was that big of a factor, then he would have kept going for a few more years in the NFL. Otherwise, you wouldn't like throw away your family just for one extra season, I wouldn't think. But I don't know, and we don't know what happens behind closed doors. Um, yeah, I mean, we talked about it. He was on his way out of Tampa Bay. There wasn't really an ideal landing spot that we could see where he could walk into and really have that
San
kind of
Francisco.
success. San Francisco?
Excuse me. Sorry.
I mean, yeah, so San Francisco wasn't on the table when we were looking at it before, but I
Mm-hmm.
guess they could be now. So that would actually be pretty wild. But that's
Yeah.
the spot where um, were they the team that was rumored that turned him down? Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
they were keeping Jimmy G instead of him. Yeah, it's rumored. It's not official. But so
Okay,
you mentioned the draft order. It was just regular season record against every NFL team,
okay,
and the two that stuck out the most were 33-3 against the Bills,
just owns them.
30-7 against the Jets.
Yeah. Oh, I mean they destroyed their freaking division, dude.
Yeah, and 24-12 against the Dolphins.
Yeah.
But like the only teams in the NFL that he had no he did not have a losing record against any team in the NFL. And against San Francisco and Seattle, he was 2-2.
Yeah. I saw that. Yep.
And that's crazy.
Yeah, I know, man. Yeah. Just an unreal career. And so
Mm-hmm.
whether he comes back again or not, I mean the dude, I mean he's all freaking legend, man.
Yeah.
And honestly, I tell you what, John Madden, he went bye-bye. If they ever change that game, it just needs to be Tom Brady instead of John Madden football, Tom Brady football.
Yeah. So these are you going question before I go too far, are you going somewhere with Brady again for question of
No,
the
I'm
week?
not. I'm going to keep it light for question of the week.
Okay.
So have at it, man.
All right, here's the regular season records that Tom Brady holds.
Sure.
Game started, wins by a starting 333, wins by a starting quarterback 251, passing yards 89,214,
Jeez.
passing touchdowns 649,
Yeah.
completions 7,753, touchdowns thrown to different receivers 98, division titles 19, Pro Bowl appearances 15, obviously oldest player to win NFL MVP 40, oldest player to be named first team All Pro 40, seasons with one team 20, only player to beat all 32 NFL teams. Postseason records. Games started 48.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Wins 35. Consecutive playoff wins 10. Passing yards 13,400.
The playoffs.
Passing yards in a game 505. Passing touchdowns 88. Okay, interceptions 39, completions 1,200, game-winning drives in the playoffs 14, conference championship game appearances 14, 10 conference championships won, 10 Super Bowl appearances, 5 Super Bowl MVP, 21 touchdown passes in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
3,039 passing yards. Oh, and that 505 passing yards in the game record for the playoffs was done in the Super Bowl. Yeah.
It's just not real, man. It's not
No,
real.
it's not real. And there's like other things he had something like 58.
I just want to know how many rushing yards, James. There weren't many there. There
I'm
didn't
sure
need to be.
there were some. There were some.
Yeah.
I will give you his total.
Career rushing yards. Tom Brady, 93. No, I don't.
Let me see. I'll go to Pro Football Reference and I will give you his total career rushing yards.
Yeah, and while you're looking at that, man, I remember back in the day when Dan Marino had the 420 touchdown passes, and people were just like, it's like so impossible, and now you look at, you said Brady was over 600. I mean, it's like, but you got to have one of those long careers, man. Marino, towards the end, he got a bunch of injuries and shit just didn't work out right. And, I mean, freaking Brady, super healthy, just kept it going at a high level. A lot of guys, like, even if they play longer, they start to kind of tail off. Man, even this year, I think he had like 5,000 yards passing or whatever. I mean, it's just phenomenal, man.
So he has in his career. This can't be right.
Did he break 1,000?
1,123 rushing yards.
So in 20 years, he got to 1,000 rushing yards.
He had 133 rushing yards in the playoffs.
Brady.
He has 114 rushing attempts in
Yeah.
the playoffs. So 133 yards and he's almost to 2 yards a carry in the regular season.
Yeah, and so he he did a lot of those fourth down,
Mhm.
4th and 1 sneaks or whatever, but so all right, so what's that, like 50 yards a year is what he got on the ground?
Yeah, thereabouts.
Hey,
He
good
has
for
his
him.
his longest rush is 22 yards.
Heck yeah, man. Hell, I mean, hey, it doesn't even matter. He is the legend of legends. He didn't need to run.
His yards per game average was 3.4 yards per game
Uh,
on 2.1 attempts per game. So that's pretty good.
yeah, jeez. Brady, man, such a beast.
He also
Uh,
has 65 receiving yards.
oh yeah. Well, he wanted that one in the Super Bowl against Philly, and it just missed him. Just went off the hands.
That was in the regular season. In the playoffs, he has 0.
Well,
That was
yeah,
his only target. Was the
yeah,
one in the Super Bowl.
I was gonna say, yeah, he was targeted, but he didn't catch it. So
Yeah, he has one target.
okay. All right. What else you got for Brady? Are we good to? I got just a couple more things on the news.
I'm good.
All right. So James, the NFL released some injury data, which I caught this morning, looking at concussions, and they had a lot of asterisks next to the last 3 years talking about COVID and the schedule change and all these things kind of skewing the data potentially. But All in all, going back to 2015, it looks like concussions are trending down, which is obviously a big positive. They've been making changes to the helmets. They've been trying to have better protocol for the head injuries and evaluating people on the sidelines. You kind of gave me like a weird look. Like, I mean, from where it was in 15, it's clearly down, right?
I didn't see that one. I just saw like the last, like it's from the last 3 years, like it's up. Like from last year, it's up 18%. From 2 years ago, it's up 14%. I didn't see the 3 year or the.
Okay. Yeah, and so yeah, and I guess that's where it gets screwy. So the article I was reading put asterisks next to the last couple years, explaining that uh, it was different coming out of COVID, and then it was different with the way that they changed the preseason, and then adding the 17th game. And so, like, if you kind of like took that into a separate lens, you could see that like it was coming down pretty steadily every year from 2015, give or take like a little pop here or there. And so, um, I don't know. I thought it was encouraging, but I mean, yeah, we'll keep looking at it over a longer view. Maybe we get to like 10 years or more, and then we can really look and say, okay, did it stay on that trajectory downward? I see you looking. I see you digging.
Yeah, I'm digging because
All right, let me see if I can pull it up then.
I don't believe that.
Because the one I was looking at was just like right in the news on NFL.com. So where is that at? And I guess while we're looking at that, man, what the heck happened with Joe Mixon? I heard there was some like aggravated menacing charge
I
against him, and then it was dropped.
Yeah, so I had seen a little bit about it, and then like I didn't follow up on it because I was like I got busy. But so had something to do with his girlfriend or something.
All right.
And
Oh yeah, keep going. I found the this injury report thing.
oh, okay, he apparently allegedly pointed a firearm at a woman, and that's what the menacing charge was. And then they dropped it, and the prosecutor said we need additional investigation before we could move forward with the case.
Okay. All right, so on the injury side of it, all right, so one of the asterisks are saying 2020 was markedly different because COVID, there were no preseason games, and so that skews the number downward. And then they're saying 21 and 22, they are skewed because the additional game, um, basically, back in 2015, you had a total of 275 recorded concussions,
Okay,
and
okay,
this.
wait a minute. What additional game? Because they're not playing an additional game. Yeah, there's an additional game in the regular season, but they dropped a preseason game. So it's overall it's the same number of games from pre-COVID.
No, no, that's a good point. I'm trying to read the other note here. Yeah, maybe yeah, so they're not actually saying that it's like 2020 they're saying is markedly different because of the no preseason and COVID. They're putting the double asterisks on 21 and 22 just to show that the structure of the games changed from 4 and 16 to 3 and 17. And so that's fine. But the you know, here's the thing. It's like if you go 15 275, 16 243, 17 281, that was the big year of concussions. And then it drops 18 214, 19 224. And then you can skip COVID because that was skewed. 21 it was 187. So like except with exception of COVID, that was a really low year. This year it did come up from 187 to 213. That's still a lot lower than the 275, 281 that we saw in past years. Um, I don't know. It looks encouraging. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah, it looks encouraging. Which while we're on the topic of concussions, Tua finally is out of concussion protocol.
Oh, that's good to hear. I didn't hear anything about that. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I saw that earlier this week, and I was like, okay. I didn't realize that he was still in concussion protocol. I just had assumed that he was out
Season,
of.
yeah, like season's over, he just comes off. Yeah, but what was it? What was the Philadelphia running back? Brian Westbrook. He was on. Uh, he was out with that concussion for like over a year. I think it like ended up leading to his retirement, man.
Yeah, it did. You're right. Was it Westbrook?
I'm pretty sure because it was like LaShawn McCoy came in right after that, and
Yeah.
it was like basically it didn't even matter. But Westbrook was an amazing running back until that happened.
I don't think it was Westbrook. Because Westbrook played for like 9 years,
Yeah.
which is about right for. He was released in 2010, and then he played for San Francisco. And the following year, he retired. I know who you're talking about, but I don't think it
I'm
was.
no, I'm almost certain it was Westbrook, and I just Googled him, and there's articles about like Strahan talking about his concussion. Westbrook suffers another concussion. Westbrook will see a concussion specialist. Um, Uncertain after concussion. Now another concussion could stop him cold. It's got to be Westbrook, man. Westbrook ready to return after two concussions. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, I don't want to get hung up on it. Uh, it just popped in the old brain here, man.
Yeah, no, because like I looked up his stats, and like yeah, he had concussions in which ended up leading to and in his last season with Dallas, but then he played the following year.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, oh, hang on. I was looking up Michael Westbrook, and it gave me Russell Westbrook. That's not what I want.
Why are you looking up Michael
I'm
Westbrook?
sorry. Uh, I'm I'm getting old here, dude. I'm having a senior moment.
Brian Westbrook?
Yeah, thank you, Brian Westbrook. I just had the article up, and then I got all messed up here. It's giving me Russell Westbrook. It's giving me Mitchell Westbrook. Like,
So
Brian
yeah,
Westbrook. Thank
apparently,
you.
I,
Yeah.
like I did a Google search of it, and apparently he in 2013 he was having memory loss at 33.
Man, that's sad, dude. That's sad. Yeah, Brian Westbrook. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, here it is. 2009 season. He had a concussion, and he missed 3 games. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? What the fuck? Where did it go? He returned 3 weeks later, and he suffered a second concussion in his first game back.
Okay.
So yeah, you're right about him having concussions, but it didn't. It may have you may be right. That may be why he decided to retire, and then a couple years later he's having memory loss issues. You may be 100% right, but I just didn't associate it. I remember the concussions. I didn't associate the concussions with him retiring.
Yeah, well, hey, it was a while ago, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
because
either way, I don't like hearing the memory stuff. That's a bummer.
he played 8 games
Yeah,
in 2009. The year he played 8 games, and he played 3 games or 1 game in the playoff that year, and then the following season he played 14 games.
yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah. All right. Well, here, let's move it on, James. That's all I had news-wise, man. What did I miss, or what did you see that you would like to add, my friend?
I think that was it. Like you hit the. I wanted to hit the concussion data. Outside of the concussions, though, the other injuries were down this season, which is good.
Okay. Well, that's good.
And that's about it.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, not this past year, but the year before, like everybody on San Francisco's roster got hurt, so they
Wait,
skewed it
wasn't
up.
that year too?
Yeah, they they just they man, they've been having bad injury luck, but it's a tough game. All right,
So
well
so
here,
the yeah, it was down of preseason and regular season player injuries this year was down 5.6% from last year.
okay. Well, it's good they're tracking this stuff, and there's going to be years where it goes up. That's just the way it works. But as long as it's trending in the right direction, that's positive.
And
So,
extremity and lower extremity injuries were down 14%.
okay. All right, you ready to talk about the Pro Bowl, man?
I'm ready to talk about the Pro Bowl.
Okay, let's do it, James. And so this is like a Pro Bowl preview, or whatever you want to call it, even though some of the Pro Bowl games took place yesterday. And so, James, the Pro Bowl has evolved over the years, and just a little background. It originally began in 1938, and the idea was a great idea, like I mentioned earlier. It just never really got executed properly, and I think that's for a lot of reasons. Mainly, people don't want to get injured for a game that means nothing. But like as a fan, it looked like a really cool thing in theory because you're going to see the best of the best suit up and play against each other. And so it could be like, like think of like the all Madden team, like on the Madden video game. It's like you're going to see the best guys go at it. But it never really worked out that way. Even though in years past it was full contact, it was often guys going sort of like half speed and not really hitting very hard. And then some guys playing out of position. Like I remember the one year Antonio Brown was playing cornerback. And then it kind of just it turned into like everybody finding excuses to not even be there, and so you'd get a bunch of alternates, and that's really like something we'll talk about with this year. Um, but yeah, like I saw some guy joking about it, saying it's like jury duty, like you're only there if you can't find a reason to get out of it. It's just like, well, that sucks, man. And I think in years past, like the one part that was cool was that it was played in Hawaii for many
Mm-hmm.
years. And so you'd get to see like the tropical, area and whatever else. And then the week of, they had like all the different skills challenges, like passing drills and just all sorts of different things, which were kind of cool. Um, I don't know, man. It just it's changed, and so nobody wants to get hurt, and then nobody wants to play in it. And I mean, you can get hurt. I remember one year Todd Heap just freaking got his bell rung, and like it happened a couple times going over the middle. And so, yeah, you legitimately don't want to get hurt in a game that means nothing. Um, and so the league had to make some changes. And so, this year we're going to be doing flag football, and they got like that coming up on Sunday. There's going to be 3 games, 7-on-7, between the AFC and the NFC. They're going to be coached. AFC is going to be coached by Peyton Manning, add a little bit of pizzazz to it, and the NFC is going to be coached by Eli Manning. And then, kind of much like the past, there were skills challenges this week, which they were yesterday. And so we talked about it before the
Some
show.
of them were yesterday.
Yes, thank you. Some of them were yesterday. The others are going to finish on Sunday, which I don't know. That kind of confused me. But and then some of them are just weird. Like one of them was a freaking longest drive challenge. It's not even football. And so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. Just kind of give me your take on what's going on. And otherwise, I'll just keep talking and probably bitch more and more about it, to be honest.
So I didn't catch it in the history. Did you mention that the original conception of the NFL All-Star Game was that year's champion versus an All-Star team?
No, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah. So it was so when you go back to, because from 43 to 50, there were no Pro Bowls or no All-Star games. It wasn't named the Pro Bowl until 1950. But so the first from 38, 39, from the 38, 39, 40, 41, and 42 season, it was the previous year's champion, the Giants, against the NFL All-Stars, or the Packers against the NFL All-Stars,
Okay.
Bears, and Redskins. Then in 1950, the NFL Pro Bowl, it was, and this is throwing me, so give me 1 second. I have to see something
Yeah,
about
yeah,
the
yeah.
1950
Do your thing, man. Yeah, no,
NFL season.
yeah, I didn't know that it was the champion against an all-star team to start. That's a pretty cool twist. I like that. And
Yeah.
maybe back then they might have actually played it well because there was sort of like a different kind of, I don't know, like a different sort of ethic and commitment to the game among men back then.
Yeah.
And
So when you're looking at the scores, I think so because okay, so 38 it was 13 to 10. 40 it was 16 to 7, 28 to 14, 35 to 24, 17 to 14.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it
like
looks
in
like there's actual defense play. So in the 1950, after the merger between the NFL and the All-American Football Conference, not to be confused with the American Football Conference, that's when they started the Pro Bowl, and it was so you had the two conferences, which is similar to now. You had the American Conference and the National Conference. You know, the American Football Conference, AFC, NFC,
yeah,
basically. But anyways, so that's when they started doing it in 50 as a purely All-Star game, and
okay,
it still looked fairly like people actually tried until, and this is until like recently, like the 90s, where it started to, in the 90s, some of them still tried too, because like the
yeah,
1996 or 97 Pro Bowl game went into overtime, and so it's really more recently, like
yeah.
2003, 55 to 52.
Yeah, I mean that's where it just is all offense. The defense
Yeah,
is just kind of sitting there, and it's just not even it.
yeah. So it
It
looks
got
like
to a
about
point where it wasn't even fun to watch.
it looks like in the 2000s when it started, late 90s, early 2000s when it started to skew. um, and you mentioned the players that find excuses not to be there. First of all, since it's the week before the Super Bowl, any team that has a player in the Super Bowl if you make the Pro Bowl, any team that makes the Super Bowl, their players can't play in the Pro Bowl.
And that's
So
totally understandable.
yeah. So for instance, Mahomes was a Pro Bowler, and I believe so was Jalen Hurts and Mahomes were voted the starting quarterback Pro Bowlers, but they're not playing in the Pro Bowl, which led way for Jared Goff to play in the Pro Bowl as an alternate to Hurts. The other two for the NFC are playing, but all three of the quarterbacks for the AFC opted out for one reason or another. With Joe Burrow decided it's selected but chose not to participate. Allen is injured with his elbow, and Mahomes is playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
So the reserves for the AFC are Derek Carr, who is not is has to wear the helmet of a team he's not going to be on next year.
Okay.
Tyler Huntley, who's not even a starting quarterback, and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I think that the Huntley one really bothers me. None of them are
Yeah.
great picks, um, but Huntley, to me, that just shows how far the Pro Bowl has fallen. It's
Mm-hmm.
just not, man, I don't know. It just bums me out. And so it's like, to me now, it's like, if I'm going into that knowing that, now I probably care more about the skills challenges because it's like, well, at least you can watch some cool shit. Until I find out that they've got like some wacky fucking challenges, like a longest drive competition. It's not even football, man.
Right. So the thing with Huntley is before like so the alternates were named like you had mentioned that what's his face from Heineke was an alternate for the NFC, and so I looked it up, and back then when Heineke was named as a possible alternate quarterback for the NFC, Huntley was named as possible alternate quarterback for the AFC.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really really weird. But I mean, he did start what 6 games or 7 games that was it 6 games that Lamar missed.
Not, dude, not nearly enough or nearly as electric to be in the freaking Pro Bowl.
No, and I 100% agree with you on that. So with the games, there's some interesting games. Yeah, you had the longest. You had the longest drive. The ones that were on Thursday was the precision passing,
Yep.
the lightning round, which was there was a few 3 games. I don't remember what they were. The longest drive and dodgeball.
Yeah, and didn't they do like the first part of the best catch, but they finished the best catch on Sunday, I think?
Yeah. So on Sunday, I was looking for the list.
Yeah, so for Sunday it's you got the remaining best catch, you've got kick tack toe,
Which that sounds freaking amazing.
you've got the gridiron gauntlet, you've got something called move the chains, and then you've
So
got
Move
the
the Chains is a team of NFC versus a team of AFC where they use the chains, like the yard chains,
yeah,
and basically drag a weighted sled, and whoever
okay.
can drag it the farthest. I'm looking
Yeah.
for. Okay, Move the Chains. 2 teams from each conference will compete side by side, pulling a weighted wall 10 yards as quickly as possible using first down chains. The best of 3 in the competition. It's a best of 3 competition.
Okay.
And it's so the AFC team is Quinton Williams, Trey Hendrickson, Laramie Tunzel, Teron Armstead, and Jeffrey Simmons. That's team 1. Team 2 is Max Crosby, Roger Saffold, Ben Jones, Mitch Morse, and Wyatt Teller. And then for the NFC, it's Jonathan Allen, Frank Ragnow, Chris Lindstrom, Trent Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence. And team 2 is Dexter Lawrence, Deron Payne, Zach Martin, Elton Jenkins, and Tyler Bidaz.
Okay.
So that sounds kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, I could be all right. And honestly, James, I mean, I'm looking at the list, the best catch, okay, hey, that could be fun. The precision passing, I like that. The lightning round, I'll have to look at the description on that. Dodgeball, I could see how that'd be okay. The kick tack toe, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Okay, that could be a little bit cool. Obviously, the flag football, that's, the closest thing to actually football. Then the gridiron gauntlet, that could be cool. I guess it's the one that sticks out that really just bothers me is the longest drive thing.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
that's the
So
one that's like, you could make an argument for all these being applicable skills, whatever. The longest drive, I don't get that, man.
so it's the lightning round. There were 3 events in the lightning round. The first event was the splash catch, where pairs from each conference
Oh,
will
the
throw
water
water
balloon
balloons to
toss.
each other as the
Uh,
distance between them increase. Those who catch tosses from their partners will advance. Second one was called high stakes, catching punts from a jugs machine.
okay.
And the third one was called Thrill of the Spill, where the players from each conference aim at targets attached to a bucket hanging above the head of an opposing conference's coach. The team that dumps the bucket on the coach earns 3 points for the conference.
Yeah.
So the thing with the three games that the four that happened already, the precision passing, the lightning round, the longest catch, and dodgeball, two of them I believe were won specifically by Derek Carr.
Yeah, Derek Carr, they were saying, had a great day yesterday. And, of course, like, oh, hey, what does this mean for his trade value? And it's it's a bunch of skills challenges, man. Like if
Yeah.
that was boosting his trade value, I don't know. I don't know. I went to negative town, James. You got to bring me back here, man.
So so the thing one thing best catch featured two players from each conference. Their creativity, inventiveness, and talent in catching the ball, and it's the fans vote online to determine who won. Um, and those who got the most votes compete in the finals on Sunday. So some of it's basically it's Patrick Surtain and Stephon Diggs versus Amon-Ra St. Brown and Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
Um, then the Gridiron Gauntlet.
Yeah, I was just reading the kick-tack-toe, but that's the Gridiron Gauntlet's the one I want to know about.
The four-part gauntlet will showcase strength, speed, and agility in segments 40 yards in length. So there will be breakaway wills, a competition of climbing over walls and under tables, a tire run, and a blocking sled carrying a coach across the finish line. So that's like, your beginning of the season practices where you're doing like the tires and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
agilities. Kick-tack-toe is amazing, where punters and long snappers are trying to
Yeah,
connect a
that's a
line of
fun one
three
to get.
squares
Yeah,
or hit 5 squares in total.
yeah, that's a fun one to get them involved. I kind of like that. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that yeah, it's just the alternates and the golf is what turned me off. But there's a lot to like that could still make it fun. And then basically all of these skills, these challenges, the AFC or the NFC, depending on who wins the challenge, gets a certain amount of points.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Sunday, when they have their flag football games, there's those three games. Basically, when they get done with that, they add up all the points for the AFC and the NFC, and that's how they determine a winner. And so it's
Yeah,
not based on like a full contact game like it was in the past. It's based on all of the points being accumulated from all the events.
yeah. And isn't it like isn't it a sevens flag football game?
7-on-7, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like
three games of 7-on-7, yep.
you don't not even have an offensive line, which is about right for flag football.
Yeah, and I guess that that did bother me until we went through the skills challenges because you can see that they have a lot of events that involve the offense and
Mm-hmm.
defensive line. And so that's good. Like it's just I think that the one thing they got right is that everybody is involved somehow, including
Yeah.
the special teamers. So, so that's fine. That's good. I'm good with it. I can put my gripes to bed. And yeah, you know, uh, what else? What else you got to add about the Pro Bowl here, man?
I'm just bummed it's not in Hawaii. Like I
Yeah,
remember, I'm trying to, I'm
I mean,
trying to remember
I
what game
guess
it
if
was
it's
for.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I guess if it's not in Hawaii, well then why not Vegas?
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember what PlayStation game it was where you it was like an NFL PlayStation game where part of it was like you had to do like the quarterback skills challenge. You remember like the old like hit the target
Oh
and
man. So I know that one of the Madden games had practice like that. Um, but I'm trying to remember if there was a skill. It, man, it's ringing a bell.
Q,
It, yeah,
QB club or something like that.
yeah, it's definitely, man, it's vaguely familiar.
NFL QB club. I think that was it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, NFL quarterback club.
Okay.
Let me see. I recognize it if. Let me see. It was like 2000, 2001. Um, that might not be it. That's fine. I don't recognize. I'm just trying to look at the covers and
Check it out, man. Check it out. Yeah, so it looks like some of the old Madden games had mini quarterback challenges.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was NFL QB club that I'm
Yeah.
thinking of.
No, yeah, no, I know what I was just thinking of the Madden side because I was always like a diehard Madden guy, but um yeah. And so it says that there was actually an article back in September saying that there's going to be potentially a skills competition returning to Madden NFL. So I guess that would be for the one coming out this year, which would be Madden 24. So that'll be something to look for.
It wasn't PlayStation. It was Super Nintendo.
Okay, ooh, yeah, taking it back, man.
And
Yeah.
Super Nintendo and Genesis. That's what I'm thinking of. Because I just found like the picture that I remember it being, and
Okay.
it was Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo.
Nice, nice. I like the old games, man. Classics.
Apparently, also was for Game Boy and but yeah, so it was a little bit before. I think that was like close to before Madden.
It might have been if we're going that far back. I do remember Madden on Super Nintendo. Oh man, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, so it came out in '93, '94. When was Madden was like '92?
I don't even know, man. But yeah, I mean,
No, Madden was '88.
88. Holy cow, that's older than
Was
I thought.
was the first Madden. Wow.
That's awesome.
And that was the one oh yeah, that was the one before they had the licenses for the team. So
Yeah.
it was like the um New Jersey green or yeah, New Jersey greens. And it was clearly the Jets jersey.
Uh, well, hey, you gotta just skirt around the law a little bit, James.
Yeah. I mean
Uh,
that one like the original Madden was platforms: Commodore 64, Commodore 128, Apple II, and DOS. Jeez.
Old school.
Yeah. And then, like, in the 90s, I think it was when it came out for, like, Sega Genesis.
Okay.
Yeah, anyways.
All right.
I digress.
That's all good.
I just thinking about the Pro Bowl made me think about that NFL quarterback club game.
Nice. It's good to reminisce, man. Well, you want to kick it over to question of the week? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, let's do it. And we're going to keep it light again, just kind of like we did last week, but nothing crazy, James. I just want to know, will you be watching the Pro Bowl games on Sunday? And for me, coming into tonight, I'll tell you, I was not totally decided, and I had missed the skills challenges yesterday. That golf thing turned me off. My gut was telling me to just skip it and watch the highlights and see, if it was interesting, maybe I'd get more into it next year. But after we really dug into the descriptions of each of the challenges and talked it out more today, I think I am going to watch it on Sunday, man. How about you?
I don't know. And the only
It's
reason
it's dicey. It's dicey.
it's it's dicey, and the reason I don't know is because of the timing of it.
Okay.
Because lately on the weekends before the games, like we've been trying to do something with the girls. So I don't know.
Well, yours is family stuff. It's
Yeah,
not that. So if the family stuff aside,
if
would
I was
you?
at home, I would probably more than likely be turning it on just for the entertainment factor.
Sure.
But I'm not certain that I'm going to be home in the
I
middle of the
gotcha.
day on Sunday.
Well, yeah, I think that was the answer I was looking for. Is if you were hanging around, would you watch it? Yes. But obviously you got family stuff going on. We all got stuff going on in life, and so it's all. I get it. You can't watch. It's like every game. I'd love to watch every single game, but you just can't because we got to go to work and we got to spend time with our wives and kids and stuff like that, man. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, hey, so for anybody who's still watching the show, first of all, we appreciate you guys hanging in there. We hope you liked it tonight. Um, I think we might have milked a couple topics a little bit more than we normally would, but that's just because of the week that we're in, and it was still worthwhile to talk about, in my opinion. But we hope you will play Name That Stadium. Take us up on that. We'll give you that extra special shout out next week. And then also answer our question of the week. Let us know. Are you going to watch the Pro Bowl? What do you think about it? You excited? You not? Whatever. What's your feedback? And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. So James, that's all I got, man. Any closing thoughts?
That's about all I had to.
All right, man. Well, hey, I'll catch you later, buddy. It was a good time.
All right, sounds good. Have a good one.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.